Hey guys, this is Spiffy Guy and I'm back with another gear video, and this time we're going to be talking about footwear and footwear systems, which is pretty much, in my opinion, one of the most important kind of kits, gear that you need, because if you're out bushcrafting or you're out trekking, you're on your feet and you're walking, and so maintaining your feet is really important. To one, make sure you're having a good time out in the woods, and two, make sure you're getting where you're going. So with that in mind, I'd like to just say that I'm not a podiatrist and I'm not an expert on any of this. These are just some of my opinions and some of the things that I've come up with in my experiments on to find better footwear. And I think I've kind of got a decent system dialed in, so I figured I'd share that with you guys in hopes that maybe you can improve your experience out in the woods. So the important thing about a footwear system is it's not only the shoe or boot, it's also the insoles and the socks as well. So it's really, they all really kind of go together. So some things that may work for me may not work for you, but there's a lot of research online, a lot of different places, and everybody has opinions on different ways that things will work for them. So sometimes it's just an experiment, but hopefully these will give you an idea of places to start. So when I'm out in the woods, I'm basically doing one of two things. I'm either out trekking, meaning that I have a light pack and I'm going for miles on a trail to see how far I can get and through hike or whatever. I'm making a lot of miles in the day. The other option is I'm out roaming around doing some bushcraft, just kind of farting around in the woods, and I'm not really necessarily going for miles. I may be off trail, bushwhacking a little bit, and so those two activities need two different things. If I'm out trekking, I'm wearing lightweight trail runners. Okay, I want to be fast, light on my feet, and trail runners work well. If I'm out bushwhacking, it's usually going to be in fall or early spring and winter, so there could be snow on the ground, it could be pretty wet, and I'm going to want something a little bit more substantial to protect me from rocks and trees and things like that. So I'm going to be wearing boots. So let's talk about the boots. So the boots that I'm wearing right now, these are all leather, and they're Danner pronghorns. Okay, and I recommend getting boots that have a really good leather upper. They're gonna hold up a little bit better, and you can treat them treat the leather with open off, and really have a good life out of the boot. Now that said, these boots fit for the most part. I made a mistake when I got these boots in thinking that I was going to need warmer socks with them, so I sized them up a little bit. Now these are the insulated ones. They have 150 grams of the Thinsulite in them. You can buy these in uninsulated. So the problem is they fit for the most part. I have to wear a little bit of a thicker sock, which I'll talk about once I get to socks. But on the left boot, this little area right here kind of rides on my ankle a little bit, and I've been working on that. But for the most part, these are really good boots. I've never had any leaks or any problems with them. They are heavy though. They weigh almost 4.5 pounds each, which is why I recommend, if you're out doing any long distance or any serious backpacking on trails, that you look at a little bit lighter shoe. Something like these trail runners. These are the Brooks Cascadia 7s, and a pair of these weighs half as much as the boots, and you're going to get a lot of good mobility out of them, and they have a trade-off. Boots are going to be a little bit more substantial. They're not going to wear out as much. Trail runners are not. A lot of people are concerned about ankle support as well, and you'll have to make your own decisions. I have a bad ankle, had surgery on my ankle, and I wear these and I'm okay, but I wear these because I have a lighter pack. I have less of a load. So a lot of other systems can come into play with this. So you'll need to go out and make your decision. One recommendation I can make on when buying trail runners is don't get waterproof ones. And I know that seems odd because they have these nice Gore-Tex shoes out there, but the problem is your trail runner is not high. If you get water in your trail runner, it will not dry out. I can walk through water with these. Yes, my socks and feet will get wet. They will dry out, and they will dry out a lot quicker than a waterproof shoe. Just something to keep in mind there. Now, the second thing that's important in your footwear system is going to be your insoles. And once again, this is going to be another personal preference. When I got the boots, it was recommended to get the Superfeet. These are the Superfeet greens. I took out the stock insoles and I put these in there, and they worked pretty good. There's different flavors, if you will, of the Superfeet, different colors, and it has to do with the arch support. You're going to need to find one that's going to fit well for you. You will have to trim them, so you know, they're not cheap. So you want to make sure that you do a little bit of research and figure out exactly which color and style is best for you. A lot of stores may have some insoles that you can stick in the boot when you're trying it on, and you know, just to see how it fits in there. A tip on trying on shoes and boots and all that is to do it later in the day, because your feet are going to swell throughout the day, and so you're trying it on when your feet are essentially going to be the biggest. Another option is to use socks that you're going to be using on the trail when you try the shoe on, to make sure that you have a decent fit in there. So when I got the trail runners, I had some issues with the stock insoles, and so I ended up picking these up. These are by a company called Sole, which is S-O-L-E, and yoursole.com apparently. And these were nice because they sort of form to the foot. They're designed to essentially go in the oven, and you can heat them up a little bit on the warm setting, and then they get hot, and you put your foot in there, and I don't know if you burn your foot off, but you form it to your foot. Now the guy at when I got these at REI, he said just stick them in your shoe and go walking around, and it'll do the same thing. These had a little bit of higher arch than the Superfeet, it seemed. So you know, it's kind of hard to you know, determine which one would be better, since you know, I don't have the Superfeet in the actual shoe. These have a pretty nice heel cup, and they formed pretty well. So I'm kind of liking these. I think when I get a new pair of shoes, I will pick up another set of the soles. Just one little thing I thought about on shoes is durability. As we talked about, I have worn a hole in my right shoe right here, and this one's kind of wearing out as well. So you're going to get different mileage, if you will, on a boot, particularly a boot that's all leather versus a shoe. So the next system, trying to keep this short for you guys, the next important thing is socks. And honestly, socks really make it, and can really be a problem. Now when I first got started, I was under the premise that I needed to do a sort of 2-layer system. So, and that means that essentially you have these little liner socks, and then you would wear a regular sock over those. Now these are polypro liners. They're good for wicking. You can get the foot sweat away from you, and that's part of the reason why a 2-sock layer system is kind of nice. You can also get these smart wool ones, and you know, they're going to kind of help with the stink. They're going to help do the wicking as well. The problem that I found, particularly in the boots, is I got a lot of movement in there, and it didn't seem to fill the void. Once again, I think I half-sized my boots a little bit too big. So what I did is I went ahead and got some of these nice expedition weight socks, and these really fill in the danners nicely. They keep my feet warm, and they're basically a wool, and they've got some elastic in there as well. These are made by Wigwam, and they make really good socks. So if you're looking for decent wool socks, the Wigwam can be very nice. So when I transitioned over to the trail runners exclusively, I started just wearing the liners themselves, just the plain smart wool liners, because I needed something thin. I didn't want you know, a real thick sock in there, and I didn't really want to do the 2-layer because I had some issues, like I said, with a little bit of movement, and I was getting hot spots. I wasn't necessarily getting blisters, but I was on the way to getting blisters. So I went to REI and I asked the guy, and he recommended these socks right here. Now these are made by Thorlo, and they do make a crew length, but these are the ankle socks. And what's really cool about these socks, particularly in the summer, is that they have a merino wool pad right here on your football, and then right around the heel here. This black material right here is actually made of silk, and so you have basically thicker material where you need the padding and thinner material where you don't. And I really liked these socks. Aside the fact that they were crew, and when I got cold, my ankles kind of got a little cooler. The problem that I had with these socks is the durability. As you can see, I got a hole in this sock right here, right where the merino wool meets the elastic and silk there, and it just tore out. And I only had maybe 60, 70 miles on these socks, and to me that just isn't enough. So I decided to look for another pair of socks, and I got the recommendation for these socks right here. And these are made by a company called Right Sock, and they're essentially a 2-layer sock. They come built this way, and it's let me see here, I got it written down. It's basically a polyester, a nylon, and a lycra mix, so they have a good bit of stretch, and so far the durability has been pretty decent. I like these well enough that I went ahead and for the winter I got another set of the crew length kind, and these are about 10-12 bucks. You can sometimes find them on sale, and they really work well. These socks have a no blister guarantee, and so far I have not gotten a single blister on my shoes, and I've put in at least probably 100 miles or so on the ankle socks, and I've not had any issues on them. So I highly recommend these Right socks. At least check them out. It's 10 bucks for a pair of socks, but they're definitely worth it there. So all of this, of course, leads up to, it all has to work together. So you need to make sure that your shoes and your insoles and your socks are all going to fit your feet. But also, you also want to make sure that you're taking care of your feet when you're out, in the bush and doing your thing. So make sure to have, some sort of hygiene method, and I'll do a video on my hygiene kit where I talk about it, where you can clean your feet off. It's important when you stop for the day, like for lunch, take your shoes and socks off, take your boots off, air your feet out, keep them dry, and that's important. Have multiple pair of socks that if one set gets wet, at the end of the day you can trade it out and dry those. I keep a spare set of Smart Wool socks for sleeping and sleeping only. They're very nice, they're warm, and they keep my feet nice and warm. So one last thing that I like to do that I find is really important is to use gaiters. And essentially what a gaiter is it's a piece of fabric that's going to attach to your boot or shoe and kind of go over your ankle and up to your pant leg to keep debris and stuff out of your shoes. These are really important when you're wearing shoes, honestly, because boots, obviously being a little bit higher, they have a little less chance of getting debris in there. And if you get one tiny little rock or a twig or something down in your foot and you're hiking along, you may not feel it, and the next thing you know, it's going to open up a huge blister. So the ones that I use with my trail runners are by a company called Dirty Girls, and they're only like an ounce. Let me see, I got them written down here. They are 1.15 ounces, and they have a little hook in the front that hooks underneath the laces, and then in the back there's a piece of Velcro. So what you do is they send another piece of Velcro and you can glue it onto your shoe. My recommendation if you do this is get some epoxy. The adhesive that comes on the back of the Velcro is not very good, and it's going to pull off. And it's going to pull off at the wrong time, and you're going to have an irritated trip. So when you put it on, just put a little bit of epoxy on there and glue it right to the shoe. You don't hardly notice it's there, it doesn't get in the way, and it will never come off. So it'll definitely outlast the life of the shoe. My only complaint about the Dirty Girls is that they don't go high enough for me. I wish if they were just like about another inch or 2 inches higher, they would keep my pant leg in. My pant leg likes to kind of fall out. And you can treat these with permethrin, and it will help keep ticks and stuff off you as well. Now, I wrote the Dirty Girls company, and I asked if they made a longer one, and they do not. So I may have to look into doing a DIY scenario, because I really would like that longer piece. With the boots, because I have that that little cavity, in the insole or whatever, before the heel, where you can put a strap underneath, I wear these, and these are excellent during the late fall and into winter. They help great with snow, and these are made by REI. There's a lot of companies that make them, and things you want to look at is you want to look at the attachment here. What kind of attachment are you going to have underneath the shoe or the boot? I would not want to wear these with my tennis shoes because I'm going to be riding right on this strap. but the strap is thin enough that it goes in that little heel step of my boot, and I have no issues. If you have a problem with gaiters, this is the first thing that's going to fail. It's going to get wore out. So some of them use a chain, some of them use different things, paracord, whatever. So just keep an eye on it. And these will add a little bit of extra heat to you when you're walking around. They, they go up to mid calf, and they have an adjustment up here at the top, and they just Velcro straight down the middle with a clip that goes into the underneath the front lace of your boot. And these they come in about 7 ounces for the pair. They work really well, and they're good at keeping your pants dry. They keep your pants clean, and I think gaiters are a must as part of my shoe and boot system. So anyway, these are some of the things that I've come across that I worked through, and I've got a pretty decent system at this point in time. I'm still looking at boots. I like the Danner boots. The fit just seems a little off. I may try to get a different pair that fits a little bit better, maybe uninsulated, and then worry about my insulation with my socks, which is another thing to think about. But you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to try them on. It's hard to buy online, so if you can find a local store that has a shoe, perhaps you can at least go and try it on, get an idea whether you like it, look at some reviews, and if you find a cheaper price online, then you could buy it online. But make sure to do it later in the day, because your feet will swell, and use a sock or a sock system. If you're going to do a 2-layer sock system, try that when you try the boot on to make sure that it completely fits and walk around. Alright guys, well, I appreciate you sticking around with this video on shoes and socks and gaiters and stuff. I hope that helps you out and makes it a little bit easier for you guys to do some gear selection or make some changes to your own footwear. And keeping your feet dry and blister free is the most important thing to keep you out on your own adventure. So until next time, thanks for watching.